MetaMentors, Decentraland 2023. This is the second time we've covered it, Ben.
And the third time we started today.
Got to get it right. I got one question for you. Has Decentraland become a better opportunity than it was the last time we reviewed it in the beginning of 2022? In order to figure that out, we're going to look into, has the average daily users grown? How much has the mana token performed? How well has it performed in the 2022 bear market? How is Decentraland stacking up against the top metaverses? Has land values increased? And possibly most important, has it become more user-friendly and fun? In order to answer those questions, to let us know if it's a better metaverse than a year ago, we're going to dive into the 2022 accomplishments and 2023's goals, land prices, statistics, gameplay, tokenomics, and lastly, how Decentraland is stacking up against metaverses, and how did it do with our copper rating score against the other metaverses. So get comfortable, Ben, and keep your hand off that mouse, because here comes Decentraland 2023. All right. So if this is your first exposure to Decentraland, you're going to want to check out our first video we recorded about a year ago that gets into the story, the team, the meat and potatoes of what Decentraland is. This video is mostly just about how they've progressed, if they progressed in the bear market of 2022, because we need to know, is this still a good opportunity? Is this the place to be in metaverses? And so we're going to break down some of the major topics here within it: land, tokenomics, gameplay, and just how much it has improved. All right, so here's Decentraland, how it stacks up with the numbers in 2022. 2.7 million NFTs minted. That's quite a bit. 1 million unique active users year over year. That's a 12, almost 13% increase. Desktop client downloads, wearables sold. That's quite a few wearables, 510%. That's one of the major revenue sources for this metaverse that also helps it stick out against some of the other metaverses. 47.4 scenes deployed with Decentraland SDK, almost 700%. So that users are getting in there and they're actually creating stuff with the software development kits that Decentraland's put out, which is exactly what they're after.
And this is over 2022?
Yeah.
In the bear market?
Yeah, in the bear market.
Wow.
22.7 minted emotes. I'm not even sure what that is. Events created, creators that receive royalties. Check out that number. 755 creators. This is the creator economy.
That's interesting. Here, jump over. Let me show you what an emote is.
Some more dancing.
These are
is that
emotes.
An emote right there?
Right here. So I can make my guy show emotion. An emote. That is an emote.
And
So how many did they have?
22.7 minted emotes. So those, you actually mint those as an NFT?
That's interesting. I don't know.
Because so maybe that what you just showed are freebies, but you can, like the guys in the background, that's probably not a standard emote, is it? Wagging the
Probably
dog.
not.
What do you call that move?
I
Smacking.
don't know, but here, look, I just learned this one. I can throw cash on them. Look at that.
This totally explains why you're sold on Decentraland now.
I hope I'm not. Yeah, this is fun. All right. Back to you. Sorry, but that's what an emote is. I just happened to
appreciate that.
I happen to know that was what an emote is. So they've minted a bunch of those apparently. Cool.
Yeah. So dance moves as NFTs, big deal. Hadn't thought about that, but that does make a lot of sense. I mean, it's no different than wearables. Getting you some fresh kicks, showing off your new dance moves, whatever it takes to win over the lady avatars. Decentraland's DAO. Now, the reason you're seeing this separate is the DAO is what oversees the decentralized autonomous organization, oversees Decentraland. That's what Decentraland is about. Decentralization, ownership by its users, its players. And so they want to display those stats. They're proud of the DAO and what they're doing. This is not a central driven project. It's all about the peeps like you and me. 100 grants approved for a grand total of $6.2 million. Yeah, there's a maker fund. Is that the name of it?
Mm-hmm.
Maker fund that goes out to, if you can get a grant for things that you're doing in Decentraland, which is cool. DAO proposals, a lot of DAO proposals. Those are up. Full revamp of the governance DApp, and 921,000 mana fees went to the DAO. So that's $1.6 million was paid for transactions within Decentraland that went directly to the DAO. I think that's one of the most impressive stats of this is money is going back into the organization, going back into this project, Decentraland, and it's going directly to the DAO. So then it breaks it down into the highlights by the month. I'm not going to go into those. We'll be linking this article, but in my book, those are some pretty awesome improvements as far as stats go. There's also some more information. Like I said, it kind of breaks it down into some nice tidbits here, but it'd take way too long to get into that. So let's keep moving on. So that was its accomplishments in 2022. Let's go on to 2023's Decentraland goals. And they're broken down into some categories: unleash content creators' creativity, make Decentraland more fun. I'm in on that. And improve overall performance. They're calling 2023 the year of the creator. And that's what Decentraland is about, is fun and creativity and business. Here's a roadmap for creators and some of the improvements that they're going to be putting in: drag and adjust 3D models and assets, select an entity to view its components properties in a readable UI, latest version of SDK, as we saw in those stats from 2022. There's a lot of usage there, so they're going to be performing it or improving it. A lot of these are just underlying tech improvements for the overall performance of it. Some of the cooler stuff that I did see that I want to point out here is smart wearables. Smart wearables are wearables with code attached that allow the user to see new content. It's a bit like having an experience or scene with all the capabilities of the SDK that is portable as it is attached to the wearable, that you can take and that can be taken and worn anywhere in Decentraland. For example, a smart wearable could be a pair of glasses that when you put them on, make everyone around you look like zombies. That seems like a pretty dang cool addition. So each individual user could have a different experience within Decentraland. They're going to do some enhanced documentation and tutorials. Not quite sure what that means. And then some theme campaigns in the marketplace. Music festival, one of their biggest events, which is also the trailer that I played at the beginning, was their music festival of 2022. They just had Fashion Week in November of 2022, which if you caught our first episode, I specifically talked about how fashion was the next big movement after music that was drawing people to Decentraland and the metaverse. So they put on a fashion week in 2022. They're going to continue that in 2023. Another big improvement is they're going to make it so that you can pay with fiat. So you can use Mana to buy NFTs or directly with fiat currency also. And here's your emotes, outfits. I was just telling you about the fashion week that they put on in 2022, and they're going to do it again in 2023. This is a clip from that actual fashion week. And as you know, Ben, I love me some Paul Barron. He does such a good job. And so I'm going to play just a short clip here. This is the senior producer for Decentraland that is in charge of Fashion Week, but also has a lot to do with fashion within the metaverse and brands and stuff. So let's hear from Mrs. Or I guess I don't know if she's Mrs. Dr. Giovanna. Did I say that right?
Giovanna Graziosi Casimiro.
Thank you.
Right. Let's talk about the roadmap a little bit. Okay. Decentral, you look at Sandbox, you look at a handful of other projects that are starting to build their own metaverses, so to speak. Then you have brands who have really kind of stepped into the space. And I would say now Nike with Artifact and what they've done, that's a pretty good example. Most likely we're going to see a retail brand take a step in here in the next 24 months. There's some big opportunities here for you guys. Decentraland, roadmap wise, where do you see that kind of rolling out to?
Well, first, I think that Decentraland is always working with the community because we are a DAO, right? As a decentralized platform, we are mostly governed by the DAO. So we are not a corporation. So our roadmap also operates differently because we always try to look into what the community is aiming. So definitely, I think finding solutions like VR. VR is something that our own community started coding solutions for VR, and eventually I think that's going to be available. But I think also we are really looking into improving the tools to build the world.
That's good.
And make it more of a social platform in which people really go there to build their own worlds. You know, like imagine you could create your own Polverse and me, my Gigiverse, and then we could really enable people to build their own spaces.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think that's what today a lot of those metaverses are lacking really, is really to how we can really customize, personalize, and bring education and easy tools.
Yeah.
So I think one of the main things on the roadmap is facilitating the tools and getting them as refined as possible. So it's really drag and drop. You know, the metaverse is there for you.
That's a good point.
Giovanna Graziosi. Did you hear she called it her Gigi-verse?
I did hear that.
She goes by Gigi.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if that was
right now and see if I could find Gigi-verse.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if that's what, maybe if that was her own little land that she calls it that, or if that's her nickname she has or what, but she's a doctor of AR, augmented reality. That's what her specialty is, right? So it also helps. She's very attractive, but I feel like she might know what she's talking about here.
Is she, Ryan? I didn't notice.
Well,
I don't look at women for their physical features. I just noticed she was very smart and well-spoken.
Yes. Well, I think she might have both, but that's my personal opinion. Just like this isn't financial advice. This is just my opinion. But fashion, a big part of it. Decentraland, she's talking about making it more user-friendly, all things that I think are, pretty important to a succeeding metaverse like Decentraland, right? It doesn't matter how cool your fashion is if it's not user-friendly and you can't get in there and mess around or whatever and have some fun. So they're on top of it. Like a lot of these big projects that you and I've talked about, the bear market is about building. It's not about hype and everything else. It's about building and getting things lined out so that it's user friendly and that people want to spend time there because it's a lot of competition in the metaverse. But anyways, gameplay is a big part of it. That area falls to you. What do you got to share with gameplay? I know you spent all morning.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't get as much video ready stuff as I should have because I just ended up playing a lot of Decentraland. It is, to me, the most playable game that we've messed with so far, that's ready to go, that's actually playable. But I figured I would just run around here real quick and show you some stuff. Does that sound all right?
Yeah, please. I tried to do the same and just I was having a hard time. So
Okay, I haven't figured out all of the stuff. I know Ryan and we jumped down there at one point,
and
but
you
I couldn't
get
figure out how to get back up. But what I was doing earlier, you come over to these boards and it shows you some of the places that they are, and you can just click on them and it shows you what you're working with. These are some of the events that are coming up, and then these are some of the games that they've gotten. So the video that I'm going to show is Dragon Rush. That was me getting third place in the high score list on Dragon Rush, which has seemed pretty simple. You can see my name right there, bin number 5865. That was my first try. I went back in just to record one of the races. So this is Dragon Rush. This is where you start. You want to start over here with the dragon, finish on the land here spot. I jumped up on his back, and then you can tell there's directions over here. So I hopped back off, read the directions, and then gave it a go. I did not do nearly as good this time. I actually fell off the dragon. I've cut that out because nobody wants to see that, but you'll see me flying through here. The point of this game specifically is to fly through these gates. You got to push F for flap and keep the wings flapping, and then steer him the whole time and keep your guy on top. You can tell by the position that he's in. It's not the best graphics game, but it's a pretty fun little game. And of course, I stuck perfect landing there on the bottom. You can see my score up there again. No big deal. Third place overall. Best in the metaverse.
I wonder if when they say camera angle, this must be part of what they're talking about, right? That camera angle thing on here is kind of hard to use, at least for a novice like me. So I'm looking forward to an improvement there.
Yeah, I guess it depends on what you're used to with with gameplays. Like I'm used to having like controllers like Xbox, so I'm not really a keyboard guy, and so that you got to use the keyboard and mouse in tandem. So it's not my favorite.
Sounds good.
So similar to Sandbox and similar to some of the projects we've done, it's pretty much an open world. You can go wherever you want. Everybody's got these little areas, places that they've built that they've either, blocked off for just them, or places that they've opened up to the public. Some of them are pretty simpler. Some of them have pretty interesting games on there. I got caught into one earlier where they were playing music, like clearly custom music, and I got into a couple of games. If you want, you can click up here into the map, and you can see all these different places, some that are empty, some that don't have anything. I'm afraid to click on the Sugar Club. That might be
R-rated.
But I ended up earlier playing poker. I'll show that video right here. And of course, sat down for my first poker game. Here you go, ice poker. That was what I was playing earlier. And I ended up winning my first poker game, as you can see here. And I'll put that video up right there.
Yeah, in that area where you're playing poker, is there, it's called like Vegas or something like that? Is that like a gambling area?
I can't seem to zoom out really anymore.
I couldn't either. I noticed that myself.
So I don't know, but they've got the, that's clearly, it's in Vegas City, it looked like.
Okay.
So I'm still on, I haven't downloaded the game. You can download it to actually make everything run a little bit smoother. I'm just running it out of the browser, but it still seems to go pretty smooth, especially in comparison to what I was doing with my laptop. So as you can see, this, just as far as like the playability and the getting around, it seems much easier than some of the other ones. Oh, well, yeah, you got to have a wallet to do that. And that was another thing. I just signed in under a guest name, but you can connect your wallet. They have like little casinos in here. They have things where you can jump in and buy stuff on OpenSea. And then actually I a couple of these, they have just like advertisements on the wall, and I just clicked on them, and it asks if you want to go to this other website, or something like that, which is pretty cool because if you think about the
Like branding.
yeah, like the benefits of advertising, like when you're thinking about the sources of revenue in here, advertising on the wall and seeing something and being able to go, oh, that it does look cool. But rather than it being like a billboard, you're like, I have to look that up when you get home. You can
Right.
actually go, you know what? I think I'll just click on that, go over there right now. And you and I have talked about, especially imagine coming into a restaurant in here that's connected with like Uber Eats.
Mm-hmm.
Taking a good look at the menu, picking out what you want, paying crypto for it, and then having the Uber Eats delivery just show it up to your house. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's one of the
We're
first
there.
like that. I feel like that's one of the to me, that doesn't seem like that's probably too difficult. Maybe it is, but I could see that being one of the first advancements that really brings people on board, right? Because there's already tons of people spending hours inside of games or metaverses or whatever. If you didn't have to actually leave, I bet you double your time almost immediately.
Oh, I 100% agree. This is called the theater. If it was actually a theater where you could watch movies and I could order Uber Eats while I'm in there, I would never leave my house. That's a joke. I actually never leave my house anyway. Look at that. That's
oh,
the
Rocketeer.
Rocketeer.
I forgot
Remember
about
that one?
that. Yeah.
Moulin
Mhm.
Rouge, Attica. Robin
Don't know
Wright
that
is
one.
the Congress. I don't know that one. Robin Wright was the Princess Buttercup on Princess
Oh,
Bride, though. Oh man,
yeah.
look at this. This looks like a Warren theater.
Yeah, that's a fancy theater and nobody's there.
Yeah, and where I was at earlier, there were a ton of people, and you could actually talk with them and interact with them and do
Was that
emotes
just
with
a
them.
Twitter symbol?
Where?
Sorry. Looked like you just ran past it. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
What does that do?
Follow us on Twitter.
Oh,
Decentral Games. See, that's what I'm talking about. It takes you
yeah.
straight there. You could say yes.
I wonder if it opens up a different browser that, and your avatar just hangs out there while you're
Yes, it just opens up a different
Smart.
browser, and then I'm right there. So you can still play. You can go between third person and first person. This looks like a little casino action right here. I don't have my wallet hooked up, so I can't play any of these games. Chateau Satoshi. Oh, what a cool name. Vegas City and Decentraland. All right, I got to get my wallet hooked up and come back to the casino. Looks like that's Discord.
How do you feel about the graphics of it? Like, I'm disappointed in the quality of the graphics, and this is my lack of knowledge here. Maybe that's just because the world's so big. Like, you're not going to have tremendous graphics, and or this has been around for several years. I don't know what the capability is, but I'm saying one of the biggest turnoffs for me about Decentraland is just the graphics.
Yeah, when you compare it to other projects that we've looked at with like the AAA rated games, like the Star Atlas and the stuff like that, where it's really elaborate, I could see why it would be a little bit frustrating. But when you look at how much you can play on Star Atlas right now and how much you can do, and I'm just being serious. It's like, yeah, I think you gotta give and take.
Well, and I guess this is user created, so in order to make it, with no coding necessary, very similar to Sandbox, in order to make it that anybody such as myself can just go in there and create something, it's not going to be AAA graphics, right? It's got to be pretty simple.
This is nuts, though. It's so huge. And
Yeah,
like I said, I showed you the games that I did play, the Dragon Rider, and then there's a bunch of just smaller little quirky games that are fun to play. And if you got another buddy that you can get in and play with these, if you connect your wallet, you can actually enter into like real tournaments with real rewards. They give out NFTs. You can win some of the prizes and stuff that they have in the game, as well as actual, if you go to these casinos, it's crazy because they're actual casinos and you can actually gamble. You could play blackjack, poker. It looks like there's several different ice locations, and those are the ice poker. And then that takes you to the ice poker game and you can play. I was just looking at these little spots for your advertisements. This is what kind of the benefit of buying some land right now in projects like Decentraland or Sandbox or any of these major open world metaverse projects. This is what you'll be able to do. I showed you how easy it was to interact with those in here. You just click on them. Well, imagine if you're just Pepsi and you know, you're watching a movie or something like that and you're like, man, I'm thirsty. And then you see a sign for Pepsi and you can click on that and they send you one via Instacart or Uber Eats, like immediately. Just when you start to wrap your head around the possibility of what these games are going to be capable of, it'll blow your mind. And again, to think, look at all of this land that's available, anything that doesn't have something on it. I know this is getting more into like land sales, but it's like, think about having this completely filled up, because one of the things Ryan and I always talk about is it's less of a game and more of, this is what I'm going to do today. You know, you can come in here, you can go to work, you can play games, you can just socialize. It's just like people who just scroll through Facebook or waste time all day. I don't want to say waste time, spend all day on social media. Now you can come over here and play the butterfly prawn farming game. You know,
I was yeah. Anything you want to do. Yeah, I was just watching a YouTube episode from a year ago with Raoul Paul, and the interviewer asked him, basically he said, hey, finance is like a $450 trillion a year business or entity. And he was saying, do you think that metaverse will ever, he said, and DeFi is around 10% of that. And he said, do you think metaverse will ever get to be like a sizable portion of that or whatever? And Raoul Paul stopped for a second and he said, the metaverse is going to be bigger than the finance industry. And the guy was like, what? He's like, the thing is we're looking at the metaverse all wrong. He's like, the metaverse is going to be everything. The metaverse isn't going to be part of finance or part of work or part of business. It's going to be the metaverse. And then within it is work, play, finance, like all these things. And again, he said, it's because of the technology.
The metaverse is the gradual evolution of the internet that we have right now. Like your refrigerator has the internet. You know what I mean? So that's literally what we're getting into. You could be in the metaverse and go, oh, I need to go grocery shopping real quick, and click over to Amazon's metaverse. And they go, quick, let me check in your refrigerator. It's all digital. It goes, yeah, you're out of milk. Okay, better send me some of that. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, the metaverse isn't a single place. As much as Mark Zuckerberg wants it to be the horizon worlds, the metaverse is going to be the connection and the eventual evolution of everything that we have right now, Web 2, as it goes into Web 3. Different projects, different worlds, different programs, different companies. You're going to be able to bounce back and forth across all of them. And it's just the experience. You know, you can make it sound as techie and new world ordery as you want, but it's just the stuff you do all day on your computer anyway, but a more immersive and more connected and more fluid experience, rather than just going and scrolling down in Amazon and looking to see what you want to buy. You'll be able to walk into a place like this and go into the store and walk down the aisles and see what you want to buy and actually shop and just make it more of a, oh yeah, I need to get this. Oh yeah, I need to get this. Oh yeah, I need to play the magic flute, you know? So I just think,
you know, it's also with stuff like that, you know, like initially you want to think, oh my gosh, all the time that's going to be wasted in there. But how much more productive will it make you, you know, instead of going to the grocery store, you just shop online, or it already knows, instead of having to drive, you know, like we talked about the state of California in the news this morning, instead of having a 2-hour commute to your job, you can just do it, you know, virtually, VR, whatever. Like there's all these things that it's good and bad, right? And like we've said before, whether you like it or not, it's here and it's getting stronger because of the advancements of technology.
Right. And we're going to dig deeper into gameplay in 2 weeks. I think next week is the team. We're going to really dig into Decentraland this month. And in 2 weeks, we're going to get into gameplay. We're going to look up a few more different types of the games. But you're 100% right. Like, it's not wasting time. It's not, oh, well, what else could I be doing? If you really were able to cut up and decide how much time you spent on everything during the day, if you think about even at a real job, how much time you spend in meetings, if you think about a real job, how much time you spend traveling to and from, how much time you spend just inputting data, if you think about all the stuff that you do all day that could be considered a waste of time, and if I don't have to drive, if I can show up to the work meeting right here at my desk, looking at it in person, make sure that everybody's here by looking around, have the microphones on, be able to communicate. You know what I mean? And then it's like, okay, what did you need me to do today? Well, I need you to, balance this sheet and do this, this, and this. It's like, perfect. I could do that right here. Now you're not wasting the 45 minutes of drive into work, 45 minutes home, the sitting around waiting for everybody else to get there. Like, wasting time is definitely not what the benefit of this is. The benefit is you get a lot of your time back, because I could sit down and do everything that I need today and be done in about 3 hours. If you think about, man, especially schooling, if you think about public school or colleges, stuff like that, how much time is wasted doing that stuff, the going, the coming and going, the waiting around. And it's like, you can do this and be done with it and then go live the real world. Then you can go out and do whatever you want. I think wasting time is the furthest thing away from what the metaverse, the eventual metaverse, will be able to do.
Yeah. I think for sure none of us knows, but it's happening, and there's going to be good and bad that comes out of it, but it's what you make it, right? It's your attitude.
Absolutely.
That's how you see it. Pretty awesome, man. Gameplay has improved.
Gameplay has 100% improved. And I'm torn because a lot of these projects I had with my old laptop, and so it kind of stuck, I wasn't doing very good with that laptop. So I've got a new computer now, so it really seems to have improved. But there's so much stuff you can do here. And like I said, you just click on this map and there's just no end to it, man. There's stuff everywhere. There's experiences, there's personal lands, there's games, there's just stuff you can go look at, walk through. It's awesome.
Yeah, it is. Speaking of the lands, there's like a lot of
Vegas
projects.
City. I see what you're talking about. All right.
Yeah, here's this map that kind of lays it out pretty good for you. But again, we went into more detail with this on the first one we did a year ago. So if that's of interest, grab that. But I'm gonna go through some of the things that have happened with land, including what the price has done and the current map and things like that. So we can evaluate, is this a better opportunity than it was in 2023? And so anyways, this is that original map that's several years old, but it kind of breaks it down and lets you know the gray areas again are individual properties that are either owned or not owned. And there's this map here. So this is a bit blurry, and I apologize. This next one I'm going to show you, but this is an advancement of that map. So here's in 2021, they improved the API. And so now you can kind of see some of the things that are being built out. So that was in 2021. This is 2022. So again, it's a little hard to tell, but try to look at the differences in what's been built. You can see there's more stuff that's been added. And so this itself to me is an improvement because you can start to kind of just see visually in the big picture things that are being built here and that are happening. Let's jump over to OpenSea, our favorite secondary market. And a year ago, when we covered this, the floor price of a Decentraland single plot of land was like 4.5 ETH. And ETH was right around 2,600 around that time. So that, gives you an idea as where 1.3 at today's price, 1,600, a little more, it's right around $2,000.
Nice.
So it's a fifth or a sixth roughly of what it was a year ago. And there's more land to choose from. You can also see that there's only 0.3% of the land listed, and that's with 90,000 plus parcels of land. So there's almost none that are available for sale. And I'm going to show you some stats from that land report that we also reviewed with Sandbox that's going to dial that in. There's only 8% unique owners, which that we'd like to see that higher. This just means that most of the land is owned in chunks by individuals or corporations. You want to see that more sparse so that, if a major organization or a person that owns a bunch of land decides to sell off, it could affect the price. The more unique owners you have, the less likely that is.
That seems like that'll get better as they get above 0.3% owned. You know what I mean? Like
yes.
8% is a big number, or a small number of unique owners, but less than 1% is even owned. So you're talking about a very small fraction of what's out there right now. And as it continues to grow, it's going to be a lot more unique owners.
Yes. And so there's lots of pieces you can choose from. You can also go on to Decentraland's marketplace to do this, but OpenSea just makes it pretty easy. Let's go right into this report that we also reviewed this with Sandbox last week. This report's from Parcel. It's the 2022 annual Metaverse virtual real estate report. They did this just at the end of 2022. Overall, virtual land has sold a lot. So 180% year over year. Most of that came from the other side sale that was mid-year, like 75% of it here. You can see other side land accounted for 75%. So that's a huge amount. This report's fantastic. We're going to have the link below, but I'm just going to hit some highlights here specifically to Decentraland. So at the time of this report, and I believe it's still the same, Decentraland was number one as far as land market cap. And so good place to be, number one amongst these other, top metaverses. Go into some of the secondary sales volume by world. Decentraland is the light yellow here. You can see it has the lowest amount of secondary sales, which tells me people are hodling Decentraland. They are not selling it. So it appears that they're finding more value with Decentraland, or they're expecting more future value. Especially when you consider that like Sandbox has like 166,000 parcels of land. These charts are really interesting because this is without the other side sale, which again comprised 75% of the land sales last year. You put the others, this is the same graph down below when you put the other side in, like tremendous amount of sales. Here's another graph of cumulative secondary sales volume. Again, Decentraland is at the bottom of that, which is something you want to see. They're holding on to the parcels of land. Here's a graph of this is the land prices. And when I see this, what I'm seeing is just see how this is pretty steady. It took a dip in the front of the year, like a lot of projects did. And then it's just basically gone sideways. Like here it was in January, and here it is in December. It's almost the same. It has not moved a lot as far as price point, where some of these you can see have jumped around quite a bit. So it's been the steady Eddie. Here's another, price performance. It's just hanging right in there, staying very steady. As far as ownership here's a chart that's just showing ownership. Again, it's, let's compare it against Sandbox that we did last week. You've got, 35,000 owners roughly. Decentraland, it's a smaller percentage. Here's the unique holders again. It's at the bottom. So we'd love to see that higher. But again, part of that is because people are not selling it. So as Web3 grows, as metaverses grow, there's not been the opportunity to buy into Decentraland like some of these other projects because they're holding the land. So interpret it how you like. Well, here you go. Percentage of hodlers. Where did it end up? So according to this, it was only 4%. That's interesting. I'll have to dig into that a little bit more because that seems contrary to the way I was looking at it. So I must be seeing something incorrectly.
Right. Maybe that's the amount of land that's being hodled right now as in comparison to all of the land. You know what I mean? Like it's probably just we're just looking at it wrong.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Because this is the buy only. That's right. So Sandbox, 54% of people that bought Sandbox have not sold, as where Decentraland is selling, but it's just a smaller percentage. Anyway, so there's that report. Here, this is from Non-Fungible. Here's some graphs that kind of give you some idea from the sales perspective. Here's the number of sales over 1 year. I've got the time span at 1 year here. And the moving window at 1 month. I think I had it. Yeah, 30 days. And so you can just see what the graph has been doing. It's down a lot here. So there's some opportunities for purchasing because the price is down. But you're still, I mean, this is going into February 2023, and you've still got 743 sales, over $1 million in transactions. Here's some of the live stats. They give you just a big picture. So there's a lot of, and I'm sorry, I need to add in here. This is not just land. This is NFTs in general. So wearables and other items that come with it. You can see them here. So there's a lot of transacting going on in Decentraland, even in a bear market. So that's something that's really, really good to see as far as I'm concerned. That's that map I showed you there. Yep, there we go. So essentially that's what I've got as far as the land portion. Here is our first video here. And I almost don't want to play it because we made some pretty big predictions that absolutely went the other way. But I highly say if you're interested in Decentraland and want to laugh at what type of predictions we made, it's worth watching that video.
Yeah, everything. I don't think we realized we were in a bear market till about June.
Definitely.
We just wrote it all the way down. Yeah.
Look at that. Is that a Fu Manchu? No, that's not Fu Manchu.
I don't know what that's called. I don't know what that's called. I just remembered I change my facial hair every week.
You should bring that back.
I do like that. It looks good. Looks like an old Irish boxer.
It does. Yeah, you look mean as nails. Anyways, so that's what I had on the land. We're definitely seeing a lot of movement there. It's a better opportunity to purchase land in an improving metaverse, which seems to be the case with a lot of pieces. But if you've got your eye on Decentraland, it might be a good time to cherry pick some pieces of property.
Mm-hmm. Good way to put it. Now's the time. All right. We'll just do a quick rundown. Again, we're really digging into Decentraland in the month of February. So we're going to go kind of into a much more detailed version of all of these sections over the next 3 weeks. But today I'll give you the quick rundown. We're looking at the coin, which is the Mana token. Is that what we're using?
Yeah.
If you look at the metaverse projects, number 1 is ApeCoin. Number 2 is ICP. The ApeCoin is the Bored Ape, the one that goes with the BAYC. Its market cap is the biggest. ICP is infrastructure, and Decentraland is number 3. Its current market cap it's gone up since even a couple hours before. Is that 1.45 billion? Let's see. I got my information here.
It's jumped up a bunch.
Yeah, it has, because just even right before the episode, we were at 1.3 billion and it was only 71 cents each. So it's 78 cents. It's gone up.
Bitcoin hasn't really moved.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's gone up quite a bit just in the last couple hours. But last year when we did our episode, I bought 100 Mana tokens for $2.71 each. And it had a $4.75 billion market cap then. Now we're down to 1.45. The coin's again, right before the episode were 71 cents, and now they're 78 cents. So everything must be going on a little bit of a tear right here. Actually, you can see if you look over here, all of these are shooting up a little
Popping
bit
up.
right here on there. But yeah, there's 1.8 billion coins currently circulating, and there's only 2.1 billion in the total supply. So most of the coins that they have are out in the free world, being used, being sold, being held on to. They're out into the hands of the owners, not held back by the company. And I think that speaks to the decentralization of the project.
Yeah, you don't normally see it. I don't recall normally seeing that high of a percentage
No,
out and about.
no, especially
awesome.
I feel like, we say this early in the project. Now, Decentraland's been around for a while. It's one of the older projects in the space, but it's still, we are very early in the whole metaverse industry. So yeah, to have that many coins out already, a lot of them you see are holding them back to kind of help with inflation later on as they get their projects going, and to keep some money back for the team and for the growth of the project. So it's awesome. And again, I think that's a lot to do with the fact that they're able to charge mana tokens in the game. The people who are buying it are part of the DAO that are choosing which way the game goes. People who have a financial investment in the project are less likely to be buying low and hoping to just unload when it sells high. If you're using it to be in the DAO, you have an interest in seeing the game succeed. And I think that changes kind of some of the tokenomics, some of the normal crypto stuff. It's not the bonk token, it's Decentraland, it's the mana coin.
Governance.
Yeah, you know what I mean? It is. That's what gets it to the DAO, is the fact that it's a coin like that. So yeah, we're up right now. Compared to the Sandbox, it's about $300 million bigger in market cap. The coin price is right about the same. Sandbox is 76, Decentraland's now 78. So both of those are available on most major, I'm trying to remember,
exchanges.
Yeah, because last year, I can't remember if one or both of them weren't available on
Sandbox
Coinbase.
Sandbox was not. Mana was.
Okay, because I know that everybody's going through which one's a security and which one's, commodity. So I know you can get them on most of the KuCoins and stuff like that, but one or both of them you can get on Coinbase, and I know I have both of them in my Coinbase wallet, so I know you can hold them. Yeah, and I think when we get into this, I think we go through the token the last week of February, and when we do that, I'll try to buy some more, and I'll buy it for, looks like, about $2 cheaper per coin.
Who knows? It may not be, but in a couple weeks, or it may be even more.
You're right.
You'll have to tune in to find out.
Yep. So that's what I've got. Oh, dang. Yeah, look at this. Just the last. It's looking good today. Oh, you know what? Now that I think about it, it's because I told people we were doing Decentraland. So they call that the MetaMentor bump whenever we go over one of the episodes.
We're going to get busted for insider trading if you keep doing that. You got to keep that. You got to keep that down.
Well, it's because I did leak earlier that we had a pretty good copper score on this project.
Yeah,
so
yeah, we do. Let's hear about it, because that's what it comes down to. You can take the copper score to the bank.
That's right. The copper score, as you all know, is our quality of project ranking scale. The score is where it ends up on the scale. To give you an idea, the Bonk coin, the meme token, got a 39. The Sensorium Galaxy, unironically, got a 69. Sandbox last week got an 83. And Decentraland, on an independent score by two different people, both professionals in their field, gave this an 86. I'll just go through it real quick. The team, we gave a 17. Part of the reasons we gave it so high is because it has such a huge and active DAO. That's the Decentralized Autonomous Organization. That's the owners. That's the people who play the game, who buy the tokens, who have a say in the direction of the project. I think that has a lot to I think there's a lot to say about a team that has people who are not the original creators, who are invested by choice, who have the ability to sell and get out of it if they want to. If your team includes a well-run and active DAO, I think you get extra points. We gave that team a 17. The project, we gave an 18 because it's one of the few projects that's open and running right now that you can get into, that you can buy, you can play, you can download, you can do the games, you can socialize, you can use. It's not in beta, it's not in alpha, it's not testing out. It's actively open and building while it is open. We gave that project an 18. The reason we gave a 16. The reason it's a social platform. It doesn't stand out as far as the reason. It's not AI, it's not AR, it's not VR. It has nothing like that really sets it aside. Just the fact that it's a first person mover. And there's not a lot of places, not a lot of projects that are keeping up with it right now is why we gave it so high. But because it's basically a social platform and something that everyone else is trying to do, we didn't give it as high as it could have been. We gave it a 16 for the reason. The area of Web3, again, we gave it a high score of 17 because it covers all areas of Web3. Yeah. It's a social platform, a gaming platform, fashion, music. It's got finance. You can buy the token. You can stake the token. There's a lot going on. So as far as the area of Web3, it's not just got one good area. It's got several good areas of Web3.
Yeah.
And then the MCAR, which is the market cap and revenue. It's one of the few games that right now you can get into and start spending mana in the game, buying NFTs, buying wearables, buying your way into projects and events. You saw that board that they had with a whole board full of events. Some of those are free. Some of those you can buy tickets to. Last year they had the music concert where they had like Paris Hilton doing DJ, and they had a whole bunch of big names in there. Just very cool that there's a project already that has the ability to bring in money. On top of that, their market cap is almost $1.5 billion in the middle of a bear market. Now, it was much higher when we were bull running, but it's still at 1.5 billion. It's still in third place in the metaverse coins, only behind BAYC, which is like the premium brand, and then some infrastructure ICPs. So the MCAR, we gave it an 18, which means the copper score is a total of 86. That's 3 points ahead of Sandbox and way ahead of Bonk. This is one that I think Ryan and I both feel pretty strongly that it's safe to invest in.
Yeah, and I think we could agree that it has improved since 2022.
Yeah, that's the best thing about being interested in crypto and Web3 right now is the prices have all dropped drastically and the technology has improved exponentially.
Yeah, the value's gone up, price is down, and the future is bright.
Yes, it is.
So sorry, as you mentioned,
that's a Ryan response. Yes.
in unenthusiastic. Yeah, so as you mentioned, we're gonna get into Decentraland and break it down for the next couple weeks, most of the month of February, into individual categories, which is going to be great. We'll be able to actually make a little more condensed videos with a little more detail and spend it on some quality projects.
Yes, not just explaining, but actually doing a little bit of detail on how you can get involved. Both what do you need to do to get into the game, connect your wallet, invest in the token, stake the token, buy the land, rent the land. We're going to have all sorts of stuff that we're going to really dig into and try to make this month. We're going to try to make some smaller but more concise videos.
With that, if you don't have any parting comments, I thought I'd leave us with
I have one. Decentraland just hit 80 cents.
Oh, So it's up 9 or 10 cents,
Yeah.
over 10%.
Yeah.
It's popping. I wonder what's going on. There's breaking news that we missed.
I told you it's they're talking about MetaMentors on Twitter, saying they're going over Decentraland right now.
There's probably a rumor out there that you're going to bring this back. Man, stay tuned. Yeah, it's the market's up. Bitcoin hasn't hardly moved, but something's going on with Mana and Decentraland. We'll comment next week about what it might be.
All right, you got something you want to show me?
Things the CEO said is that with technology or the metaverses, like that type of technology, you typically don't see a doubling of traffic or performance. It compounds even more than that. So he said that from the beginning of 2021, there was roughly 15,000 daily users on Decentraland. At the end of 2021 in December, it was at 500,000. That's a 30x jump. And he said, you can expect to see at least that, but most likely more than that next year and for the following year and possibly past that. But what a really good reference point that he made that really got my attention is if it 30x's the next 2 years, that will be the size of Facebook. You'll have that many users in Decentraland, in the metaverse, running around in 2 years, size of Facebook. And I don't remember how many billions of people use Facebook, but it's massive. Obviously, we all know that.
Yes,
Crazy.
Which is good news for everybody. I mean, it's good news about Decentraland. That's huge. 15,000 to 500,000. You know, regardless of what the actual price of the land and the tokens are doing, they say invest where the mass adoption is happening. It's happening right now. Once it really fires up, once the investing catches up with the adopting, it's going to be hard to jump on at the price that it is right now. So
and that's a great.
Don't worry, you got plenty of time.
So we're halfway to the size of Facebook.
Yeah,
it's been a year. We're going to hit that in 2 years, and the coin is definitely not going to be any cheaper. And that's why you bought 100 of them at the time. Turns out it did get a little cheaper, but that's why this is not financial advice, folks.
Exactly. That's a good way to end it. Nothing we say on these episodes is financial advice. Do your own research, or you could lose money like we did this year.
Good episode, Ben.
All right. See you next week.